Hi, it's Splinterverse. Welcome to another episode of D&D New Releases, where we offer first impressions of new third-party products for Dungeons & Dragons. We cover a selection of titles from Dungeon Masters Guild and DriveThruRPG each week. The titles are presented in alphabetical order by site, and all of them are linked in the video description. Purchasing the books using those links helps the channel, but you can also support us by purchasing one of our best-selling books. Our newest release, Swarms of the Multiverse, offers over 70 brand new creatures, including their associated swarms. Plus, you get instructions on how to make your own balanced swarms, and lots of bonus materials such as 4 new demiplanes. We've got lineages suitable for any setting, as well as optional lineage rules in our Van Richten's Librum of Lineages. With our Potions Unlocked book, we have over 100 pages of material to take your potions to the next level in your game. Our Feywild Companion offers 150 pages of Feywild fun for players and DMs. Also, our book, Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets, contains over 50 pages of dragon-themed player options, including a subclass for each class and much more. Please support the channel by purchasing one of our books using the links in the video description. Before we talk about the new releases, let's talk about the Splinterverse exclusive discount for the week. It's Reanimator Artificer Specialization. It's from Tyler F.M. Edwards and Ryan Langer. It's normally $1.95, but with our exclusive discount, you're going to get 50% off of that. 7 pages, says the powers of life and death are yours to command with this cunning new subclass for artificers. Choose one of 2 powerful reanimated assistants to aid in your adventures. Harvest biological samples from fallen foes and use them to empower your assistant. Control the battlefield by increasing the range of your spells. Channel vital energy between yourself and your assistant, protecting you or harming foes. Has several new magic items, including the legendary Philosopher's Stone. So lots packed into this supplement for the Artificer. Let's take a look inside. So you can see here some of the abilities. You can actually see pretty much the bulk of the book here. You've got your biological sample, which is one of the features. It sounds really fun. You've got a whole flesh puppet form for your reanimated assistant. You've got a soul puppet form. So a lot of fun stuff happening. And here you can see your stat blocks for the flesh puppet and the soul puppet. So coming back up here, let's read a little bit about the Reanimated Assistant, which is a 3rd level feature you get as an artificer with this subclass. So it says you have successfully fused flesh and technology to create a Reanimated Assistant, which is your choice of either a soul puppet or a flesh puppet. Soul puppets are more intelligent, often housing a sentient soul, but the effort spent on housing their mind makes it more difficult to craft a strong body for them. Flesh puppets are larger and more physically powerful, but possess only a rudimentary intellect. So that's kind of cool because they're separating. Do you want one that's more like intelligent or want one that's more strong, right, in terms of physical? And of course, it's friendly to you, and it uses your proficiency bonus for some of its stats. But it says, in combat, the assistant shares your initiative, and it can do all sorts of things, including taking the dodge action if it's not given any other commands. And then it says, at the end of a long rest, you can create a new assistant if you have Tinker's tools or Alchemist supplies with you. And that's cool to be able to recreate them. But you can see they're a little different here in terms of their stat blocks. They've got different actions. So the flesh one has crackle twice a day. The puppet crackles with electricity. All creatures within 5 feet of it must make a dex saving throw. And otherwise they take lightning damage or half as much on a success. And if at least one creature is damaged by crackle, the puppet also regains some hit points. So that's cool. And then over on the soul puppet side, you've got something called Soul Ward. It says your soul puppet has a pool of warding energy that replenishes when you take a long rest. With that pool, it can grant temporary hit points equal to your artificer level times 3. As an action, the puppet can touch a creature and draw power from the pool to grant it a number of temporary hit points. So that's pretty cool. And then you got also Window to the Beyond. The soul puppet can sense any undead within 30 feet of it that are not behind total cover. So getting some different actions there. And that's just, the base stat blocks here. Then when you get into different forms here that they can take, and it gives you some lore tables here to kind of help you describe what they're going to look like, which is fun. And you could even use this outside of the subclass to just describe, maybe a golem or something else too, so you get some double use out of that. And at the 5th level, it says you are constantly on the search for new biological samples you can use to perfect your creations. As an action, you can take a sample from a creature you touch. The creature must be willing to let you take the sample or be dead or unconscious. When you take the sample, you immediately learn the creature's type if you didn't already know it. And when you finish a long rest, you can use the sample to enhance your reanimated assistant, granting a new feature based on the creature type. So then there's all these different abilities that you can layer on top of the creature that you've created. And this is just up to the 5th level. There's other stuff, we're only seeing 5 of the 7 pages, so lots of fun stuff here. And I think it's a really cool concept for an artificer. It's also normally $1.95, but we're giving you 50% off, so that is a steal for this. And remember, with the Splinterverse discounts on all of our social media that come out every Monday, they only last for around a week. So if you're watching this the day the video came out, you've got just a few days to take advantage of it. So jump on there, get that, and then be sure to follow us at Splinterverse everywhere so you can get these discounts every Monday. But this looks like a real fun one, so look for it. It should be the first link in the timestamps, or in the pinned comment. You can find it under Reanimator Artificer Specialization, and give it a click. Next, we've got Demonomicon of Azazel by Peter 𝘬𝙤, and it is $4.99 for 22 pages. And it says, following in the tradition of the much-loved Dragon Magazine articles, the Demonomicon of Azazel provides an in-depth look at the demon lord of outcasts and betrayal. So you get full stats for a new CR25 demon lord, and it includes lair actions, regional effects, demon lord madness table, and combat strategies. It's got a comprehensive examination of Azazel, including his origins, goals, and relationships with other demon lords. Details on the mayhem and havoc wrought by his cultists, including an all-new demonic boon of Azazel. Full list of demonic minions. A perilous and soul-crushing exploration of Azazel's personal abyssal realm of Outcast's End, including optional rules. And then you've got adventure hooks, integration with Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus, 2 new magic items, and a monster new to 5th edition, the terrifying Castigar, with full stats and lore. So a lot of stuff packed into this. You can see some really beautiful art as well. I think Peter 𝘬𝙤 is a really talented artist, so it's cool to see a book with a lot of Peter's work. So 22 pages. Let's look inside. So you can see they've got the lair, the different stat blocks, goals, cultists, all that stuff. And yeah, just beautiful layout and art. Here's an intro, so we'll probably read a little bit of that in a minute, but here's some lair actions, regional effects, and then this. I love that there's a whole madness table. So it says if a creature goes mad in Azazel's lair or within sight of the demon lord, roll on the madness table. So there's a whole separate sort of flaw that they get until cured. The first one is other people are responsible for my often violent actions. So that would be fun to role play, blaming everybody else for everything that you did. And your fellow players would know, hey, it wasn't me that did that. You did it. I saw you. And so that would create some interesting role play opportunities. But reading here a little bit about the Prince of Scapegoats. Although the most infamous among mortals, Zariel is not the only angel to have fallen from the 7 heavens. In the millennia before her, there was 𝘬𝙤. 𝘬𝙤 was once a planeter, called to serve the solar Rahia, a warrior princess awoken from her meditation to stem a massive incursion of demons that had belched out from the abyss. The demonic host had already overrun much of hell's topmost layer of Avernus and threatened to overwhelm whatever was left of the devilish defenders. Should they fall, the blood war, and hence the rest of the creation, would be lost to chaos and evil. So got a lot of history, and then presumably you get to Azazel. Let's see if I can find Azazel in here. I'm trying to. It's a good story. I just want to focus on Azazel a little bit here. It says, okay, here it is. Welcoming the fallen angel to his side, Bel gave 𝘬𝙤 a new name. So 𝘬𝙤 in the beginning is Azazel. Okay, I got it. He christened him Azazel, the infernal world for scapegoat, an ironic mockery of a name, and the first of many humiliations he would bear under the new lord of the first. So that's cool, because we saw that first flaw was blaming everybody else for what you do, which is kind of like a scapegoat, right? So this seems really tightly thought out. Really everything's woven well together. So looking at the lair actions, it says a wave of sweltering heat threatens to boil away the life force of other creatures in the lair. All creatures other than Azazel must succeed on a con saving throw or gain 1 level of exhaustion. So yeah, those fit well with it too. Yeah, everything I'm seeing looks really good. Looks fun. Love the layout and the artwork. So I think you should look for it in the links below under Demonomicon and give it a click. Next, we have Drizzt's Travelogue of Everything, an astonishing account of rules options. So it is by Lucas Anderson, Arian Ballou, Sarah Brayfogle, and a host of other people. It is $19.95 for 93 pages. And it says it's a massive 2-volume collaboration of DM skilled creators that expands on the options found in Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, and Monster's Manual. So you got 26 new subclasses, a brand new class called the Tactician with 4 subclasses of its own, and then 2 remastered subclasses, just like the Circle of Spores Druid and Bladesinger Wizard get reworks. Here they're reworking the Path of the Berserker and the Way of the Sun Soul Monk. And then you got magic items, over 50 of those, and then Dungeon Master's tools, including guides on running intrigue and mystery, animal domestication, and more, a revised guide to shopping and guidelines for running a business, and complex narrative traps with instructions for modifications. So very, very fun. Love that. So let's look inside and see what all we've got. So you've got the Tactician, deep dive into that, all the different subclasses for it. Then you get right into all of those fun sounding subclasses. So just looking at one, you've got under Druid, you've got Circle of the Streets and Circle of Winter. Under the Monk, you've got Way of Redirection, Way of Terror, and Way of the Sun Soul Redo. Under Sorcerer, you've got Fey Essence and Undead Soul. So, I mean, lots of fun names already. Magic items, Dungeon Master tools, like Creature Domestication, all that fun stuff. And then Drizzt gives you a little intro in character here. And then here's, like a summary of all the different things that are in the class and subclass section. So that's cool. Lots of options. And here's the Tactician, so you get to read a little bit about that in the preview. So let's find out about this Tactician. Like what are they going to be up to? So blessed with neither magical powers nor physical greatness, at first glance, many would assume that tacticians have a difficult time making do. Looks can be deceiving, and this underestimation is what allows the tactician to thrive. The power of a tactician's mind is a frightening thing, overflowing with potential and focus that benefits anyone that stands by their side, whether it's to lead an army to victory or direct a small strike team. Tacticians find themselves seeking knowledge wherever it may be found. So, kind of a cool mental focused character. And I could see where you could do that for sure in D&D. And then you got, your kind of quick start info of all your proficiencies, including, light armor and simple weapons, and then any 2 tools of your choice. And then you get down here to the first level. It says you become a master at devising the best course of action for the future. When you complete a long rest, you gain a number of perfect plan dice, as shown in the perfect plan dice column of the Tactician table, which are D4s. Upon receiving these dice, you can spend 10 minutes concocting a plan that includes a number of willing creatures, up to 1 plus your intelligence modifier. Whenever a creature that is part of your perfect plan and that you can see or hear, you makes an attack roll or ability check, you can use your reaction to spend 1 of your perfect plan dice, adding the roll to the result. You can wait until after the d20 is rolled before deciding to use this feature, but must decide before the DM says whether the roll succeeds or fails. Once it is rolled, it is lost. And then when you reach the 7th level, you can add your perfect plan dice to saving throws in the same way. So, giving you some ways to help the other players. And I guess, from a narrative standpoint, this would be like the tactician using their really great skills at tactics and strategy, right? So they're sort of influencing what you're up to and helping the other player, which is cool. Or I guess it could be an NPC doing something. So you've got all these other things here. So these are some more first level things, like you get you can use your intelligence instead of your dex for determining your AC. Your mind grasps more information, so you get 2 languages of your choice. And then when you get to 2nd level, you gain the ability to focus your intellectual prowess into breaking down the defenses of your opponent. So as a bonus action, you can begin analyzing a creature that you can see. Your analysis lasts for 1 minute and provides a number of benefits as shown below, as well as additional benefits when you gain levels in the class. Your analysis ends early if you get incapacitated, all the good stuff. So down here under combat analysis, it says when you hit a creature that you are analyzing with an attack, you can expend a perfect plan die. Alternately, when an allied creature that is part of your perfect plan hits a creature you are analyzing with an attack, you can use your reaction to expend a perfect plan die. If you do, the attack deals additional damage. So you get to roll a d4 and add that, and then it goes up. The number of d4 goes up as you level. And then another benefit is creatures you are analyzing have disadvantage on opportunity attacks made against you. So you know, analyzing them would be maybe, I guess, your action. So very cool. Yeah, it says, I think, as a bonus action. Yeah, so you can analyze as a bonus action. Very cool. Yeah, it looks like a fun, different take on a class, and that's just one part of this. There's so much other stuff in here. I mean, you get all these other subclasses. I mean, looking at the College of the Promenade, it says performs magnificent dances which greatly aid their dance partners. And then the Spirit Domain says deals with the spirits of the departed and manifests ghostly powers. So there's a lot of fun stuff lurking in these pages, just waiting for you to find that link in the video description and click it and discover all these things for yourself. So look for it. It's under Drizzt's Travelogue of Everything. Give it a click. Next, we've got the Eyeless in the Dark by Ryan Doyle. It's $2.99 for 11 pages. And there's a full walkthrough of the book in the video that they have on here as well. So check that out. It says it's a one-shot or first adventure for a new campaign. It carries new and experienced players away from the light of the ordinary surface world and down into the fantastical dark depths, where here there be monsters chock full of adventure, as well as design notes for dungeon masters that help both the novice and the veteran. Very cool. And you can use it with some of the other publications from the Vertigus table, because they've got some encounter books that we've covered previously. So here you go. It's for 4 first-level characters who should achieve 2nd level by completing the adventure. And it's got information on the location, the background, etc. And then it starts in a tavern, and we'll read some of that flavor text in a minute. And then you can see here they've got the mine all mapped out for you with different levels, and then some more things that you encounter in this cavern as you journey through. Yeah, lots of flavor text too, which I appreciate. Then you've got this CR1 Basilisk hatchling, which is cool because normally they're, basilisks are a higher level, so to have a smaller version that's presumably a little weaker is also helpful. You can reuse that. So yeah, let's go back up here and read a little bit about this. So it looks like we're reading from Domar Bronzeflask, who limps up to the table in the tavern, and he says, "I arrived just in time to see Jasper Feldspar turned to stone. Swear it to the Lord of the Forge. Now, for the last week or so, I had suspected Jasper was pocketing pieces of hematite, and I was waiting for proof before confronting him about it. Still, even if he was a thief, he didn't deserve getting turned into a statue. Poor Jasper toppled over and shattered into 100 pieces. Part of him, I hate to speculate which part, took a chunk out of my leg, and they had to drag me out of there." Yeah, so this guy's a little bit upset about what happened, but it sets the stage. You're going to be dealing with the basilisk, right? And I like that text because it's very takes you there, and shows you from the point of view of Dormir what he experienced, and kind of sets the stage, makes you think, oh gosh, what are we going to deal with here, and we got to avoid turning into statues, So I like that. It looks fun, and there's just so much in here. I mean, it's really nicely laid out with a lot of material. I'm sure you can reuse that Basilisk hatchling later as well, because sometimes you want to put people up against a Basilisk, but they're just too dangerous. So you can bring it down a notch with that hatchling. So very cool. It's only $2.99, so that's a great price to get a whole adventure. So check it out under Eyeless in the Dark in the links below and give it a click. Next, we have Manuscripts from the Far Realm by E.R.F. Jordan, and it says it's $9.95 for 38 pages. And it says, in the depths of the Planarverse, long past the boundaries of the outermost planes, most scholars are familiar with a convalescence of strange and awful worlds pulse and grow, a cosmic tumor feeding on the fabric of reality, a multiverse of things that shouldn't be, according to the Archmage Mordenkainen. This plane, the Far Realm, is the ancestral home of most aberrations, a world suffused with twisted psychic energy and horrors beyond imagination. So this particular book is deep diving into that plane, and it's going to give you all kinds of goodies. It's got an introduction to the realm. It talks about mental strain and dealing with that. There's a whole rules light system for psionics. It's got a section on eldritch machines. And then it's also got a section all about cults and where to find them, because a lot of cults are worshiping either Cthulhu-like creatures from the Far Realm or even just aberrations. And then it's got a whole section on elder aberrations as well. So there's 6 horrifying eldritch aberrations included in the book. So quite the package, well-rounded with stuff in it for you. You've got the different traits, accessing the Far Realm, exploring it, and then all the mental strain information, how to acquire psionics, psion spell list, and then all the information on the cultists, and then those elder aberrations, including Cthulhu. So very cool. So you could bring Cthulhu into the adventure. So you've got, here's all your different aberrant traits and things, and then accessing the realm, and then what the portals might look like, and suggestions for layers, returning to time and being outside of time, psychic hurricanes, mental strain. Yeah, you got strain causing spells, strain healing spells. So that's a cool concept. Yeah, you're getting to see pretty much the whole book here, which I think is really nice. I'm just quickly scrolling through so you can see some of it, although the server's being a little slow. You can see a lot of this cool stuff. Yeah, lots of stat blocks for you. Yeah, if you're at all interested in the Far Realm, this is going to be a good option for you, for sure. Look at this, Scion spell list. I mean, giving a rules light way to bring psionics in is really cool, because it isn't really developed much in 5th edition, right? So having that a rules light way to bring it in means players don't have to learn a whole bunch of new stuff. It can be just kind of easily integrated as compared to some complex system, right? So here, reading about mental strain, it says a humanoid's mind is not equipped to deal with the terror that lies in the realms beyond the norm. With every new horror the characters are exposed to, every alien being they witness, every conspiracy they discover, every world-bending spell they cast, their minds are pushed a little closer to breaking. This section introduces a new mechanic for tracking the mental state of characters in cosmic horror campaigns, and then it goes into why it's not using madness instead, and then it talks about how you can gain the mental strain. So an existentially horrifying moment gives you a charisma saving throw to resist that mental strain, and then it depends on how horrifying the moment is. And then if you get through that, you can get some strain. So then there's certain spells that will cause strain in the target or the caster. You can see what's listed here. So if you cast Detect Thoughts when cast on an aberration, you will have to make the saving throw, because you're going to experience some strain, which makes sense because the mind of an aberration to a humanoid is going to be quite the translation, right? They maybe don't think the same way because they're from such a distant, different realm. And so the caster would have to risk taking some strain by casting that. But if you cast, Avard's Black Tentacles, then that's madness-like enough to inflict strain on the target. And then you've got some strain healing spells that can suppress or remove some of the strain. And when it says when a character with 1d12 mental strain gains a further level of mental strain, their mind is pushed beyond its limit and shatters permanently. The player loses control of the character, which becomes an NPC, and the DM rolls or chooses from the shattered mind table to determine what happens to them. If the player doesn't like the result, they are free to instead decide that the character dies, their mind and body overwhelmed by their psychic wounds. So fun stuff happening in here. I mean, here's the shattered mind table. So something has been growing inside you with each psychic wound, and this final horror completes its birth. You transform into an aberration of roughly equal CR to your character level. Yeah, so that could be a fun way to blow up a character, and that's not. We haven't even scratched the surface of what's in here. There's so many things. There's the Eldritch Machines. There's the cultists and how to structure the cult, and then you've got tables for their locations, goals, their short-term goals, etc., and then various stat blocks for them. So many different creatures here, CR6 here, CR2. So I feel like there's just a lot to be had in here, and you just don't see a whole lot on the Far Realm. So if you really want to explore it, this could be a fun option. And it's under Manuscripts from the Far Realm in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Oozey Does It, help the townspeople of Wolfwater deal with their oozing problem in this adventure. And it's by Nick Jones, 50 cents suggested price for 21 pages. It says a ruined town, a resentful alchemist, and an amorphous creatures attacking from all sides. The heroes must discover or uncover the source of this chaos and put a stop to it before the town of Wolfwater is destroyed completely. It says the adventure was driven by a desire to create a unique set of encounters that creatively challenged a party and grossed them out just a little bit at the same time. The main inspiration behind the creature design was the classic gelatinous cube, because there simply aren't enough amorphous creatures like gray ooze and gelatinous cube to experience. So this author wanted to further oozify D&D. So you've got a lot of different fun artwork here. Looks really cool. I love this one. So looking inside, it says it's a slimy one-shot for level 5. And they find themselves in the middle of a ruined town. It's cobbled streets and stone buildings covered in a blanket of green slime. So you have to look for the truth in all of that. And it says the once mighty Castle Greenhall that sat atop Gallows Hill has been reduced to a pile of rubble, its stones and mortar dissolved by the gibbering mass of putrescence that now seeps through the town of Wolfwater. So got the overview of the different parts. There's 3 parts to it in the 21 pages. And then you've got morning and the evening. So we'll read maybe a little bit of that, but you've got a CR3 thing called a bog. It's a medium oil. And then you've got the graveyard oil, which is a CR2. And just a lot of stuff in here. You've got a CR1, CR4. So good mix of ooze stuff going on. But let's go back up here and read a little bit of the intro text. It says, "You've traveled long into the day, and now night has fallen, and thick mists encroach on your position. You were sure the map showed a town nearby. Tombstones decorate the ground, and you realize you are walking into a graveyard. The silhouette of a church looms in view ahead. You hear a faint sobbing coming from somewhere to your right, and you see a figure hunched over a grave, their shoulders shaking with grief. You approach cautiously and tap them on the shoulder. They jump and turn around, their face streaked with tears. The figure looks at you with red-rimmed eyes, and you see that it is a young woman. She opens her mouth to speak, but no words come out, only a blood-curdling scream. Thick black oil gurgles out of her face, and she collapses to the ground, her body convulsing. You back away in horror as the woman's body begins to change, her limbs contorting and lengthening, her pale skin splitting open to reveal glistening black fluid. Within seconds, a writhing pool of oil fills the spot where the woman once lay, its thick form focused on you. The ground beneath you seems to be included in this betrayal as your boots sink below the surface. The boggy earth lifts up and draws in close to you, trying to pull more of you under." So yeah, you're getting kind of sucked into this world of ooziness, and yeah, it just seems like it could be really fun. I mean, even if you just buy it and use these large jellies and small goos that are in here, I think you're going to get your money's worth, especially when its suggested price is 50 cents. So check it out under Oozey Does It in the links below and give it a click. Next, we've got Party Tricks, Spells for Performers from David Hardy. It's $2.99 for 9 pages. It says sequins and spangles aren't just for bards anymore. With this brand new supplement, your character, no matter their spellcasting class, has access to a little something to bring some fun into their spellcasting. So you get 20 brand new spells, for at least one for each and every spellcasting class, 5 brand new cantrips. Each spell is themed around showbiz, stage magic, and silly tricks you would do in a bar, or are just so darn flashy and dramatic that they couldn't fit anywhere else. So very, very cool. Yeah, I like that a lot. And let's look inside so you can see some of the different things. You got card tricks, costume change, dazzling aura. I mean, just a bunch of stuff. Flower crown, miming, missile catch, soliloquy, symphony. Yeah, fun stuff. So it's giving you a list of all the different spells. So they have everything from cantrips all the way up to 9th level. And you've got various classes getting these things. So like the card tricks, bard, sorcerer, warlock, and wizard. But I mean, there's artificers in here. There's clerics, paladins. Everybody that can cast spells is getting something, which is nice. So looking at this page here on the spells themselves, you got this thing called card tricks, which is a transmutation cantrip. It takes an action, 30 feet range, duration lasts for 1 hour. It's for bard, sorcerer, warlock, and wizard. And you can perform a simple sleight of hand trick with a pack of playing cards assisted by real magic. And then it gives a list of different tricks you can pick. And it says if you cast a spell multiple times, you may have 3 of the non-instantaneous effects arrive at a time, and you may dismiss each effect as an action. So some of those include you instantaneously switch the face of one card within range to the face of another card within range. You instantaneously make one card of your choice from the deck appear in a pocket, bag, pouch, or pack of your choice within range. Writing appears on a card within your deck, which persists for the duration. This writing can be a message of up to 5 words or a simple drawing. So there's quite a mix in here. You know, we have those spells that already in D&D that give you like a few options. But what I like about this one is that there's a lot of options, and I could see the roleplay opportunities for these, especially if you have a trickster character, you know, that wants to do some sleight of hand things and say, oh, look at this card. There's a message is going to appear for you, you know, and then there's going to be some writing on it. And then, you know, you have a whole story going about, oh, that must have been put there by a god. I don't know, you know, or I'm a fortune teller. I knew there was going to be a message there, you know, so many ways you could kind of try to persuade or influence others with these little tricks. And then you've got costume changes, dazzling aura. So for costume change, you target the clothing or armor that a creature is wearing with the spell, transforming what they are wearing into something else for the duration. If they're unwilling, they can make a charisma saving throw to resist. But the quality of the clothing is determined by you, as well as the cut, fit, and style. Armor can be transformed into any other piece of armor of the same type. And then it says, if you choose to have a creature wear ill-fitting clothing or armor, their movement is impeded and their speed is reduced by 10. And then at higher levels, when you cast a spell at 5th level, you can transform any piece of armor into another piece of armor, one type removed. So you can like reduce their armor down to a whole another type, which could be powerful as well. So, and we're just reading a few of the spells. There's a lot of like trickery spells in here. And what I like about them is that they're not just like role play things. Like some of these things could actually have a mechanical impact as well. So very cool. Good price for this. Only $2.99. So check it out under Party Tricks in the links below. Give it a click. Next we have RL3, When Angels Deserve to Die. It's a gothic adventure from 𝘽𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙤, and it is $4 for 23 pages. And it's for 15th level characters. And it says, the mists of Ravenloft close again on new adventurers to find out what happens when angels deserve to die. There's a tragic story of a new Dark Lord never seen before, a new Ravenloft domain of dread, statistics of new monsters such as Death Angels, the Ravenloft Elementals, and the Gheists. And then there's a whole adventure that involves extreme survival and horror. So very, very cool. Let's take a look inside. I love that there's a new Domain of Dread here called 𝘎𝙬♬, and it goes into, you know, what all the pieces are, and it says 𝘎𝙬♬ is a village dominated by death. The inhabitants were all turned into undead by 𝘎𝙬♬ and his lieutenants. The streets are quiet, the house is seemingly uninhabited. 𝘎𝙬♬ rules over a dead kingdom far removed from the glory and power that the Planetar dreamed of. The angel wished for a real kingdom, but found himself dominating a small village surrounded by mists. So, you know, 𝘎𝙬♬ was like basically this Planetar that has fallen. And then you've got some character hooks running the adventure, noteworthy features, and then down here it goes into horror in 𝘎𝙬♬. So we'll read a little bit of that in a second, but here's a whole map of 𝘎𝙬♬. So you have this whole little town, and you know, you could even use this map elsewhere for another town, or you could place 𝘎𝙬♬ inside of another Domain of Dread, or you know, you have some options here, which is cool. It says you find yourself completely lost in a fog that prevents you from seeing around yourself. Your companions, although very close, appear as bleak mirages enveloped by the coils of mist. Indefinite whispers and muffled noises are barely distinguishable, their origin impossible to determine. The fog begins to clear a little at a time, and you feel you can finally distinguish the shadows around you. While you are striving to identify the details despite the poor visibility, from the coils of mist emerge a being composed of steam, an indescribable and sprawling horror that falls upon you to tear your life away. Wow. So they're going up against this unspeakable horror, and it sounds like deadly. It says the creature is a random traveler of the mists, attracted by the presence of living beings in its territory. Once defeated, the monster vanishes, and the adventurers realize that the fog has almost completely cleared, and they can finally observe their surroundings. So cool. That'd be fun to go up against an unspeakable horror. And then it talks about some of the traits that has. And then this goes into places and encounters you can have with ghouls, wights, and ghosts. Whole description of the graveyard. So yeah, a lot going on in these 23 pages to give you kind of a different Ravenloft experience. If you're adventuring in Ravenloft all the time and you want a new experience, this is for you. Or if you want to try this as your first one, I think it sounds really fun to deal with this sort of fallen angel and these creepy things they've got going on there. So check it out under RL3, When Angels Deserve to Die, in the links below, and give it a click. Next, we have Spells of Antiquity, Volume 8. And this is from Azzy Homebrew. Suggests a price of $2.99 for 13 pages. And this is Azzy is continuing to go through and upgrade spells from the spell compendium of 3.5 to the 5th edition. And so they're going letter by letter, and this one is for letters I, J, K, and L, presumably because there weren't that many spells for those letters, so why not bring them together? So looking inside, you can see everything from Ice Gauntlet all the way to Invisibility Superior have been converted, and that means you're going to get those cantrips all the way up to 9th level as well. And a bunch of different classes here, including some for Artificer, which did not exist in 3.5, so that's good. And all different kinds of schools, everything from Luminous Gaze to Lifebolt to Infernal Threnody, Life's Grace, Illusory Pit, Ice Flowers, Instant Refuge. So fun stuff. So let's read the first one. Ice Axe. It's a bonus action. Range of self, concentration up to 1 minute for cleric and warlock. You create a battle axe shaped formation of jagged swirling ice shards in your hand. This magic axe lasts until the spell ends. It counts as a simple melee weapon with which you are proficient. The axe deals cold damage on a hit, and you can use your spellcasting modifier instead of strength for the attack and damage rolls. In addition, if you score a critical hit with the axe shatters, dealing an additional 8 cold damage to the target. If you drop the weapon, it shatters into icy fragments at the end of turn, which quickly dissipates. While the spell persists, you can use a bonus action to cause the axe to reappear in your hand. And then when you cast it with a spell slot of 4th or higher, the damage increases. So that's cool. And then let's read Ice Flowers. It's 6th level transmutation. Range of 300 feet. Takes an action. Is for cleric and druid. You cause ambient moisture to coalesce into delicate flowers of ice for a brief moment before exploding in a shower of deadly ice shards. Choose 3 different points you can see within range. Each creature in a 10-foot radius sphere centered on each point you choose must make a dex saving throw. A creature takes cold damage and slashing damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. And a creature in the area of more than one icy burst only gets hit once, basically. And then when you get to 7th level, you can increase the damage. So, love it. Lots of options here, and we're just getting started. I mean, there's so many spells in here, and you get to see all of them because As a Homebrew lets you read the whole thing before you purchase. And there's so many. I mean, Listening Coin, Lionheart, Love's Lament, Loyal Vassal. So if you're missing any of those spells from 3.5, or you just love spells or want some more spells, this is going to be an option for you. It's under Spells of Antiquity 8 in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we got The Way of the Fanatic, a monastic tradition from Sam McGurran. Suggested price of $4.99 for 18 pages. And it says, monks who follow the way of the fanatic combine deadly physical prowess with fanatical devotion. They are assassins, cult leaders, or militant extremists who use any tool they can in service to a cause, often with little care for the consequences and no regard for anyone who gets in their way. Not every fanatic is evil, but their extreme methods often repel more moderate allies, leaving them with few options. So it says it was created to fulfill the darker aspect of the monk class, as well as the monks training the peaceful villagers trope. This monk can rouse a mob, as well as beat down their foes. This product contains the following. It's got the Way of the Fanatic subclass, some inspired backgrounds like Fear Inquisitor and Pity the Penitent. And then it's got some magic items like Flagellant's Exaltation, the Serpent's Tongue, and Talons of the Dragon. And then it's got some NPCs and then villains with tactical tips and a stat block for the Fanatic. So always action-packed stuff in here. When Sam McGurran creates this, Sam always has all this nice bonus material. So it's good, a good book for DMs and players, which I always appreciate. That thinking about the reader and giving them value. So you got the tradition here, and then goes into the different things. We'll look at some of those in a minute. And then here you got like the Inquisitor with their backgrounds, and then you've got magic items. So some really fun stuff. Talons of the Dragon, which are some bracers here. They're very rare. And then you've got some NPCs, including Maria Mohadian, who is fanatically dedicated to the eradication of the query aberrations from 𝙁𝙗𝙗. And then you can talks about how to make a fanatic into a villain. And then there's a whole stat block, CR7 of a fanatic. So very, very cool. Like I said, it's well-rounded from Sam to get all these different pieces. You know, if you're a DM, you're going to appreciate that. Because sometimes, you know, DMs buy these books for their players and say, here's a subclass that I'm going to allow that's third party into my campaign or into my table. And so when they can also get a stat block and they can also get some magic items and stuff, it's really cool because that just doesn't always happen, right? So let's look at this. It's got Fervent Believer. Your fervor catches people's attention, drawing them in or sending them running. You can use your wisdom modifier instead of charisma for persuasion and intimidation checks. So it gives you some options there. And then also at 3rd level, you may spend 2 key points to gain a bonus to your attack rolls equal to your wisdom modifier. If you do, your AC is reduced by the same amount. These effects last until the start of your next turn. So yeah, you can bump up your attack rolls if you feel like you need to. Maybe there's a situation where you need to do that, or maybe you're doing it all the time. It's up to you. And it says your fanaticism can inspire your allies and intimidate your foes. Whenever you expend key points, you may choose one of the following effects at 6th level. So each creature of your choice within 30 feet gains temporary hit points equal to the number of key points spent, and then it increases as you level. Or incite fear, each creature of your choice within 30 feet takes psychic damage equal to the number of key points spent, and then that damage goes up as you level. So that's just 3rd and 6th level. I'm going to let you read 11th and 17th because you can read the whole book here. But yeah, they look really fun. And then let's look at Flagellant's Exaltation. So this It's a mace. It's legendary. It requires attunement. This castigating mace forms a deadly link between its wielder and their foes. You gain a +3 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with this magic weapon. It has 3 charges. When you hit a creature with it, you may expend a charge to forge an unholy bond between you and your target. While the target is within 60 feet of you, you gain a +1 bonus to AC and saving throws and have resistance to all damage. Also, each time you take damage, it takes the same amount of damage. The effect ends if either of you drop to 0 hit points or if you and the target become separated by more than 60 feet. It also ends if you use the ability on something else, and you can end it as an action. And then it regains charges daily at dawn. So very cool. I mean, just so much stuff in here. I think Sam always does a great job with subclasses. So check it out. It's under the Way of the Fanatic in the links below. Give it a click. Well, that's our last DM's Guild title for the week. We're going to move on to DriveThruRPG. But before we do, consider checking out our new book, Swarms of the Multiverse, just released recently. And we'd love for you to check it out. It's linked in the description below. It's over 180 pages, print on demand or digital or both, for the same price. And it is filled with all kinds of opportunities to create swarms, including ways to make balanced ones with different abilities you can give them. We've got environmental swarms, which are more like hazards rather than creatures with hit points. Then we've got over 70 brand new creatures that are not just reskins. They're very unique creatures, and they all have some sort of connection to swarms. Either they can form a swarm with others of their kind, or they can control swarms, or they summon swarms. Whatever their connection is, it's there, and we explain it in more than 2 pages per creature with tons of lore. We list their tactics, their combat priorities, bonus items like their magic items, demi-planes, etc. connected to them. So lots to check out there. And we have a bunch of other books too, like our Feywild Companion, over 150 pages of Feywild fun for DMs and players. And that's print on demand or digital. And we also have Potions Unlocked, which is another print on demand or digital book where you get everything you could want on potions, including 30 brand new potions with supremely detailed backstories on them, so that you really can tell that history of how did this potion come into existence. You can have your little shopkeeper regale your party with this fun story, and they're really fun with twists to the story. There's things that you wouldn't expect to happen in the stories, and they all kind of connect if you read all the little short stories that go with these potions. And that's not all. There's a bunch of other stuff, including vendors and optional rules and all sorts of good things in there. We got Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets, which goes into dragons and all kinds of subclasses related to dragons, including one for each class. Then you've got horde magic items, draconic gifts, a familiar, adventure hooks. It's a lot of good stuff for you if you like dragons. Got Secrets of the Draugr, which goes into a secretive new race that combines the Drow and the Duergar, including some fun deities and fortune telling. Then we've got Van Richten's Libram of Lineages, which goes into different options for dealing with lineages in your campaign, since they are a new mechanic from Wizards. And then you get 4 really conflict-driven lineages. Even if you just use those to inspire NPCs, I think you'll get the value out of it, because it's a real low price on that title. So lots of options. And of course, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment. I will respond to all comments personally. Share the video, get the word out about this series, and click all those links and support all these great creators. I hope you purchase all the books that we've shown today. There's always so many great ones. And if you purchase anything after clicking those links, you're going to help support the channel through a small affiliate fee. So please do your shopping with us. And thank you so much for watching. Now let's move on to DriveThruRPG. First up, we have Adventure Toolkit World Builder Deck from Coco Publishing, $4.95 for 52 pages, or cards in this case, because you can generate a unique campaign world in 10 minutes or less with these cards. It says, are you out of ideas or don't have time to plan your next adventure? Are you an improv master at the table, or maybe a solo adventurer? Well, look no further. I've got you covered. Shuffle the deck, lay out some cards on a grid, roll a die or two, and you are done with it. A completely unique game world with quirky fantasy settlements every time. You can plan for a one-shot using just 9 cards, or you can plan for a campaign using 25. The deck is versatile if you are. And so it shows you how to basically print these cards yourself, because you are buying the PDF for $4.95. And you can see some samples of the cards here. So it's got resource, and then on the back there's some information. So we're going to look inside at the PDF. But so the backs of the cards are going to be on one page, right? And then the backs and then the fronts are going to be here as well on a separate page. So in this example, you've got ruler, and then it lists a little bit about what those could be, everything from the wealthy all the way down to the church. And then you've got history, organized crime, all the way down to leadership change, landmarks, school, all the way down to sewers, and problem, alien, parasites, down to slave uprising. So just combining those, we could say that the ruler of a location is the wealthy, and that there's a history of organized crime in the region, but there's this landmark school, and they've got some alien parasites roaming through this area, and that's like one of the problems that they're dealing with, in addition to this history of organized crime, of course, right? So already, just taking number one on all of those, we've created a setting. So with some background going on, and that's just, there's 10 choices for each of those tables on each of the cards. So you're going to have a lot of opportunities. And then down here you can see countryside and jaded bridge, windy steps, cove valley, etc., brushy foothills, etc. So meadows, brushlands. So you're laying out like geographical features as well as narrative features, like the details of the town and the people, etc. So I could see where it's going to give you quite a bit of information for the area, as well as not just geography but culture. So fun, and even just without printing it, you could look at this paper and just let it inspire you. You could print it and not even cut it up, just drop coins on it or something, and wherever it lands, it does the thing. A lot of options. Hopefully at some point they'll do a printing card option as well. They're probably going through that process. That's a long process to get the print cards ready, but really cool. Looks like a fun, helpful opportunity to either solo role play and create this. I mean, this is setting agnostic, setting neutral, so system neutral. So you can use this with Pathfinder. You can use this with older versions of D&D or 5th edition, of course. So lots of value there, and only $4.95. So check it out. It's under Adventure Toolkit World Builder Deck in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we've got Adventurer's Guide to Yathuna, and it's from Total Party Knowledge, $7.50 for 181 pages. Author Dakota Nichols for 5th edition, I believe. Yeah, so it's missing the checkbox over here for 5th edition on the right, but it does say it is for 5th edition. It says, Yathuna, a primordial planet overflowing with natural magic, hides treasures of past civilizations within its wilderness. It is filled to the brim with dangers, not just by man and beast, but the living planet itself. Discover the world, explore its secrets, and you may make it out before the land devours all. So it's a collection of player-focused content from Yathuna, Remnants of the Hedrons, so players can easily pick it up and create characters set in this world. It's got introduction, expansive history. You can learn about the island, and then 64 brand new archetypes, and of which 26 are dependent on your character race. Included in the chapter are 50 new feats, and something like called a star sign, which are feats that are given at birth depending on which of the 8 deity constellations appear brightest throughout the year. And then there's 155 brand new spells. So that's a lot of spells, and that could be a lot of stuff to integrate. I mean, you could look through that and find some really fun spells that work perfectly for you. And if you have 155, you're almost guaranteed to find some that you're going to like and want to put into your setting or table. So things to know about the world, the history of it, calendar, deities, moons, kingdoms, all that good stuff, and then tons of spells. And then you've got your intro here. So we'll probably read a little bit about that in a minute. And then the first mortals. So you're getting a ton of history and lore. So if you like history and lore, you're going to enjoy that. Before you even get to the massive amount of archetypes and the massive amount of spells, you're going to get some really fun lore. to read through. So like under deity constellations, it says, long ago when the elemental stewpot of chaotic magic boiled within the crystal sphere, it calmed into 10 primordial beings. One of these beings was Yathuna itself, and the other 9 became titans in the form of celestial bodies. These beings warred with Yathuna, attempting to create a divine spark for the celestial titans by populating Yathuna with mortals. These celestial beings eventually won, after each side expended more energy than they were expecting, which required rest. After creating the various mortals, these celestial titans became known as the deity constellations. So very cool. And there's the trimmers, all kinds of stuff going on. The Ancient Three. And yeah, I really think this could be a lot of fun. I mean, just how many archetypes are in here. There's just so many, 64 I think they said. So look at all these different options, even for artificers, and then spells. There's just so many. There's even something called a curse spell list or a Hedrick spell list. So I think you're going to find a lot in here that you can mix and match and put into, you know, your own homebrew setting, or if you want to play in Yathuna and really deep dive into all the lore you're going to get, then that could be cool too. And I mean, how often do you get 181 pages for $7.50? I think that's a steal of a price. So check it out under Adventurer's Guide to Yathuna in the links below and give it a click. Next, we've got Dungeon Vault Magazine number 22 with contributions by Nick L.S. Whalen, Nicholas Woodstadt, and P.J. England. And it's all from Alvin Tower. And it's on sale right now for $6.95 for 41 pages. And it's a compilation of adventures, lore, cartography, and digital goodies, of course. And so there's short little modules that you can adventure with. And as always with Alvin Tower, they look beautiful, easy to read. They have such great layout and maps. I mean, look at all these graphics here. Just some of these maps alone are worth the price. I mean, this Tentacles one, I mean, love this. Looks like a giant Cthulhu-esque throne there at the end of it, and even some tentacles wrapping around one of the hallways there. And so it includes 9 original adventures, and there's a print-friendly version as well. So looking inside, there are such beautiful maps, of course. I think this is really, really cool to have so many nice maps in here. I mean, look at that. It's like opening up onto something here, some sort of wilderness. It's not often that you get to see that on the map. Like, how does it transition from wilderness into the building? You know, normally we cut off here, so it's nice to have a little bit of the wilderness on the map as well. So yeah, you can see the Emerald Locket here. That looks like a fun one. Pretty locket there. Investments, citadels, and domains. A whole table of the cost to reach different things, so you're able to produce an army. Yeah, I mean, these seem like a mixture of different types of adventures. Look at this kind of slime and oozy looking place. Here's a cool isometric map. Yeah, I love it. Really cool. Just always enjoy their stuff. Let's go back up and read some of the other material so you can get a feel for the writing, because the writing's usually pretty good too in Alvin Tower stuff. So, all right, so background lore, souls for the taking. So the universe is full of varied sources of power. Some wizards seek more wisdom through ancient artifacts. Others become masters of elemental forces. They bind fire, air, water, and earth to their will. They fuel flying vessels that require no coal, wind, or oars, but most magic users would admit that the most powerful magic comes from the consumption of blood and souls. Alas, delving into necromancy is often considered a forbidden art. But necromancers are not all evil. Some of them are just pragmatists. They see the world differently. Why waste all this energy? Why shouldn't soldiers defend their realm once more? They would say. Black magic remains taboo for the common folk. But there is a question of faith, family values, tradition, etc. Nevertheless, could there be something as good intentioned necromancy? So that's kind of the lead into this adventure called Jars of Souls. And you can see some fun stuff here in the maps, like we talked about earlier. But it says here, each of these enclosures contains a stone sarcophagus. An important member of the Liwan family was interred here. A steel plate with their names can be read below. And then it says 2 whites emerge from the sarcophagi. They join the fight in Area 3 in the second round of the encounter. In the third round, the other 2 sarcophagi open and 2 more whites defend the place. So this is happening in 4, which is all these little, so you can see that on the left-hand side of this map here, all these little sarcophagus locations. And yeah, they're going to sort of creep at you and kind of block your way. So that'll be kind of interesting. And then they have gold on them too, so that's cool. And then going down into another adventure here, there's a makeshift camp. It says a cart, 2 horses, and the belongings of several individuals rest before a large opening in the hillside. Some of the men by the fire have been terribly wounded and must seek medical assistance soon. So I love how straightforward these flavor texts are, because it really is easy to read. If you're a DM, maybe, not every DM is great at reading aloud, and so I think one of the great things about Elven Tower's Dungeon Vault magazine is they're really concise. They're giving you these concise adventures, and they're giving you these concise flavor texts, so it makes it easier to read, and not just short. I'm saying like the sentences are structured in a way that makes them easier to read. I say this as someone who edits books and writes books and does all this stuff, so it may not be something that you notice here, but it's something that I see, and I really appreciate, because I think ultimately it's going to make it easier for people to read that, and I think that's not something to ignore, especially when you see it consistently. Yeah, so I just love the slime all over this map. It looks really cool. You got sewer access, a trap for fools, midway streams. I mean, it's just hard to pick something to read in here because there's just so much fun stuff. So I think I've given you a taste of it, but I think you should come over here and read it for yourself and purchase it, because it's on sale for $6.95. I'm going to get 9 adventures out of that. So Dungeon Vault Magazine 22, and the links below. Look for it and click it. Next, we have Manual of Adventurous Resources, Volume 1 Wilderness by Josh Gentry and Peter Martin, and it's for Level Up 5th edition. So there was, Ian has created this new version of D&D that's like a revised 5th edition. So it's called Level Up, and it's kind of rework some stuff. It's close enough to 5th edition that you can use Level Up stuff for 5th edition as well, but I love that Ian World has gone and done this and taken, sponsored getting Level Up off the ground and getting an alternative way of doing it, because there's some problematic things with the races, etc. So having a new edition is really cool, because it's gonna make it a lot easier for people to experience it and just try a different way. 5th edition's been around for a while, and so Level Up is another way to experience it. Close enough though that you can interchange some stuff. So anyway, this has got Manual of Adventurous Resources, so you can get, it's called More. You get wilderness-oriented characters like 4 heritages, 9 cultures, 5 archetypes, a synergy feat chain, and 10 spells. So very, very cool. And you get the Foundry VTT support at no additional charge. That's huge to get that along with your PDF. I mean, very, very cool. So here you can see they've got the Frog Folk, the Globulinoid, the Half Giant, the Spriggan, and then they've got all these different cultures, like the Goliath and the Horse Lord. And then you get into the archetypes. You've got Spore Keeper, Horse Lord, Rescuer, etc. And then you got some synergy feats, spells, etc. So what's also nice about Level Up is there seems to be continuous releases to support it, which is great. There's nothing worse than somebody inventing like a new version of the game and then nothing coming out to keep playing it, right? So very, very cool. And let's look at some of the details in here. So I love the artwork as well for the Frog Folk. It looks really fun. So yeah, it goes into these. So heritages really are what we used to call races in 5th edition. So that's one of the changes with Level Up. So yeah, with the Frog Folk, They have something called Toad's Leap. When performing a long jump, you can cover a number of feet equal to 3 times your strength score. When performing a high jump, you can leap into the air a number of feet equal to 10 plus your strength modifier. You are always considered to have made a running start even when stationary. And then you can communicate with frogs and toads. And then you can have some different gifts down here, like your body is adorned with beautiful colors, an indication of the toxin you emit. And then you get poison resistance. And you have this toxic film on you, which is a contact poison, which can be really fun. So you can, as a bonus action, you can coat one weapon or a piece of ammunition with your sweat. The first creature struck by it is the subject of the poisoning, I guess. And then when a creature touches you against your will, if they're not protected, they can also, through a reaction, get poisoned. And then if you're grappling or grappled by a creature, you are physically touching them, you can subject them to your poison. So the Cure Rare Sweat is the poison, and you have to make a con saving throw against your save DC, or it the target becomes stunned until the end of its next turn. So fun. And then there's other options like Terrifying Croak, Wicked Tongue, and then there's a Paragon. When you reach the 10th level, you can have some other things going on as well. With the tongue of cruelty. And then there's a whole section on their culture and variant cultures, and then you get into the goblinoid, and you got a goblinoid paragon as well when you get up into those higher levels, because that's part of level up. So fun. I like how level up is close to 5th edition, but also has some unique stuff to it. So like I said, you could use the parts that are 5th edition if you're playing regular 5th edition, or you can go full force into level up. And that's the beauty of these books. I mean, it's a shame when there's like a new system and they can't be used for the old system as well. But that's not the case with this. You have that option, and that's another reason I like level up so much. I've purchased the whole set of the books, and they're really fun. And I'm glad they keep putting stuff out. So yeah, look here, you've got your Goblinoid with your Bugbear options, your Hobgoblin, because these are heritages, right? And you have all the little sub-races, as we would call them in 5th edition. So under this heading, Azure Mind, it says you come from a line of goblins called the Blue, which are known for their psionic powers. You gain the following benefits. You know the Mage Hand cantrip, and you can cast it. And the hand is invisible, replaced by a faint blue aura. You can use this trait once between long rests to cast one spell, such as Charm Person, Mage Armor, or Arcane Riposte, dealing psychic damage. Your spell casting ability is your choice. So, from the usual suspects. I love it. Fun stuff. And again, it's just enhancing your options for 5th edition or level up. And it's all to be found in the links below under Manual of Adventurous Resources. Give it a click. Next we have The Night of Dissolution for Ptolus from Monte Cook Games. And it's 112 pages for $9.99, and it's author Monte Cook. And it says chaos, cults, and invading horde, and a terrible prophecy converge on Ptolus. So if you're unfamiliar with Ptolus, there's this whole Ptolus City by the Spire, which is a really cool urban setting with a lot to offer from Monte Cook. And so what's awesome is Monte Cook Games continues to release supplements to support it. In this particular one, you can use it with the 5th edition or the Cypher system. So you get, when you make this purchase for $9.99, you get both those systems available to you, which is nice. So it says the threads of a hidden conspiracy lead the characters into a web of insane cultists, wild chaos magic, and horrors from the primordial days of the world. Can they stave off this evil while a barbarian horde ravages the lands about Ptolus and lays siege to the city? This mega adventure is laced with urban intrigue, high action, and delves into the dungeons beneath the city. Features of this title that will enhance any Ptolus campaign include a description of Pythonus House, a haunted oracle brothel that hides a trove of weapons vital in the fight against the cults of chaos. A huge secret temple of chaos where insidious fanatics worship the dreaded 𝙬𝙬𝙧𝙬𝙬. Details of a citywide network of covert spies and agents that extends even into the highest echelons of Ptolus's elite society. The adventure culminates in a race to stave off the Night of Dissolution, a dark time long foretold when the slumbering 𝙬𝙬𝙧𝙬𝙀 will awaken in their hidden lairs deep below the city and bring catastrophe and woe to the world. This mini-campaign picks up right where adventures in Chapter 33 leave off. It complements the adventures in the book nicely, but it's not necessary to have played them to run this, and is suitable for characters of roughly 4th level, potentially taking them up to 9th level or so in 5th edition. So I love cult stuff in D&D. I think it just always has so much room for intrigue and role-playing, and I think Ptolus is just awesome. I mean, that massive book, I have it, the huge one. It's got so much stuff in it. It's just gorgeous and well-developed city for sure. And I love this concept of a haunted oracle / brothel. I mean, that's an interesting twist. And yeah, just so much here. I love that this just keeps expanding. It's 112 pages, so that's a lot of good material for you to either expand your Ptolus opportunities, or you could place this somewhere else. It doesn't have to be Ptolus. I mean, just using some of these, maybe these factions, these cults, and things elsewhere. So lots of value here, and from such a great creator in Monte Cook. So check it out under Night of Dissolution in the links below and give it a click. Next we have the Polymer Lab from 𝘽𝙤𝙘𝙤, and it says, forge onwards unto the bleeding edge of biotechnology with the Polymer Lab, a biomancy laboratory producing a variety of body replacements and body transformations. Explore the dark school of biomancy or protect the realm from a deadly new flesh titan and the artifact that powers it. You'll find the following within this compendium's 36 pages. 4 pages of lore for the Polymer Lab, including possible lab locations and lab departments, 13 new hybrid templates, new ways to modify existing monsters to reflect their hybridized, amalgamated nature, a wizard subclass called the Biomancer focused on organic transmutation, necromancy, and abjuration, 30 biomancy items from the polymutics that replace body parts to the tincture potions that alter the form, 10 monsters from oozes made of viscera to the deadly 3-stage flesh titan boss encounter, and 8 adventure hooks. So all kinds of stuff from 𝘽𝙤𝙘𝙤 packed into this title. And you can see you got the whole lore setting, and then templates. Templates are awesome because you can layer those on top of creatures, make them different. You know, your players get used to creatures, right? And then by layering on a template, you can make that creature totally different than what they're expecting, and maybe trick them because they, oh, I know, I've fought this so many times. I know what to do, and wait, why isn't this working? I thought it was going to work. You tricked them. And you have this sort of supported system to do it. It's not like you just, homebrewed it, although you could do that too. But you've got biomancy items and then monsters. I mean, just so much stuff. So here's the locations of the labs. Got the interior of the labs. All the different research. And 𝘽𝙤𝙘𝙤 always does such a great job with the lore. Like they always have what I would look for in lore if I was buying a book. And then you've got even some adventure hooks on a nice table here. And then here you go, those templates I was talking about. So it says it has several properties that change or add traits to the statistics of a base creature. The creature otherwise keeps its other statistics unchanged. And so, it goes through all the different ways that it influences the changes, whether it's, going to increase the challenge rating or change the senses or add traits and actions. Each template is different, so it might do different things. But let's read some of the adventure hooks here. So it says an engineer unveils a new self-powered wagon and hires the party to take it on a test run. The party is quickly attacked by thugs and bandits hired by the Polymer Lab, who are more interested in the strange lightning rod that powers the vehicle. A local village is besieged by a brown bear hybrid infused with a green dragon that has the following traits and actions: thickened scales, breath weapon, and draconic magic. The hybrid recently escaped from the Polymer Lab. So it's cool they're incorporating some of the sort of modifications that these creatures and characters are going to have as a result of all this experimentation going on at the Polymer Lab. So in this case, it's a brown bear, but your characters might see that, and maybe there's no physical manifestation of these changes, so they just charge at it thinking, oh, it's just a brown bear, we're just gonna take it out. But then it becomes a whole nother situation, right? So really cool, fun stuff. Love the lore and nicely laid out with beautiful art as usual from Eric Hockley. So check it out. It's under Polymer Lab in the links below. Give it a click. Next we have Ramia, Reign and Faith. It's a micro setting of ancient spirits and old bloodlines as well as new empires from Daylight Publications. $15 for 47 pages. Authors include Julia Pluta, Kat Cadell, Anne-Marie Wev, and John Bryant. And it's for 5th edition. And you can see just some beautiful artwork here. This is kind of the location with all the islands. And then you've got the scale sill kingdoms as well. And it says campaign across time, containing 4 subclasses and 2 character templates. Ramia, Reign, and Faith offers players and alders our largest micro setting yet. It presents a timeline from Ramia's creation, allowing alders to plan their Roman campaign across the broad span of Ramia's history, from the years of Reign to the Yeti Wars. There is a spot for everything. And I said Roman, but I should say Ramian, because that's what it is. Ramia. I had my size on the screen a little too small to read it properly. All right, so we got 25 pages in the preview, which is a healthy chunk out of a 47-page book. So it gives you a good thing to look at. So here you get the whole timeline of Ramia, and then you got the Song of Life, some really nice artwork as well, and you get to see the different gods, and then they have a calendar. And then it says you are spirit born under the full moon of one of the elder born. The below traits are added to your base player lineage. So your wisdom score increases by 2. Once per short rest, you can cast gaseous form on yourself. You have ascended beyond a mortal existence, making you somewhat alien to others. You no longer need to sleep or eat, but you do need to meditate at least once per day. Or once per short rest. And then you are able to perceive and look into the minds of others, revealing all just as the light of the moon does. You are proficient with the insight and perception skills. And then once per long rest, you are able to turn into a spectral form of your spirit's animal. And you can remain into that for 1 minute. So layering on some stuff to your race here. And then you've got the kingdoms, whale touched, etc. All that good stuff. Yeah, I love it. Fun stuff. Just maps, gods, timelines. It's really cool stuff. So the Troll Empire, which is Ramia year 0 to 200. The early days of Ramia, the western continents and islands were given over to powerful troll nations. War was rare, but squabbles were constant. No one truly knows why or how the trolls disappeared. But some believe it is when mortals discovered magic, or when the dragons began to realize that the trolls had begun to delve too deep into chthonic rituals. So yeah, some fun starting history, and that's just one. They go through the draconic houses, the years of reign, etc. But what I love about micro settings is I feel like they're really good for DMs that like to create their own stuff too, because since it's a micro setting, it's not like 400 pages of material that you got to try to absorb. This is giving you a bunch of information in 47 pages that still leaves you plenty of room to invent your own things and add your own flavor, your own homebrew, and integrate it. It's much easier, I think, with something like this. Yeah, you can pluck things out of Forgotten Realms or some of these other big settings, but when you have a smaller micro setting like this, I just feel like it leaves you a lot more room. If you're someone who just really hates using out of the box stuff and wants everything to be homebrewed, this can be a great way for you to hybrid it so that it is part micro setting, part your stuff, because you're not going to get this book and go, well, I got to make sure I include all of this. You can really more easily take the pieces out that you like, or flesh out stuff, because in 47 pages they can't be as exhaustive as some of the wizard settings, right? And I think that's one of the points of a micro setting, is to really just give you just enough to have the flavor and feel and all these options, but then leave you so much room to do your thing. So check it out. It's under Ramia, Reign, and Faith in the links below, and give it a click. Next, we have Ruins of Symbaroum, the Game Master's Guide from Free League Publishing. And I do want to point out before we start looking at this that they did release 2 other books that are for Symbaroum as well. We're only covering 1 book per publisher per week, so we couldn't cover all of them, but I do encourage you to check out the other titles as well, because this is going to be the one for the DM basically, and then there's one for players, and then I think the other one's an adventure one. They're down here. You can see under customers who bought this title also purchased. So yeah, you've got the bestiary. Okay, the other one's a bestiary, which is awesome, and then you got the player's guide. So yeah, you want to check those out as well, because I think it's a really fun series. So within the Ruins of Symbaroum game line, the acclaimed setting of Symbaroum comes into the world's most popular role-playing game. It's got over 200 pages. It's 204 in this case for 5th edition, and it's got extensive information on the capital city of Yondaros, guidelines and tables for placing adventures in the Underwood, Yonder World, and Spirit World. Advanced rules regarding expeditions into the forests of Davakar to be used when designing or randomly creating thrilling treasure hunts. Informed instructions and guidelines regarding the design of game worlds, adventures, and epic campaigns. A chapter on how to make in-game rewards more interesting and tailored to different player types, also including 27 mystical artifacts, each with its own adventure setup. A long list of optional rules regarding advanced traps, troop play, ceremonial magic, managing domains, pitched battles, pack making, social challenges, and more. And then it's got a whole one-shot adventure called Blight Night, set at the edge of the Davakar forest as an example of how an adventure landscapes in Symbaroum can be built. So just a lot on offer, and so nicely laid out. You can easily read this table of contents. You've got all the things to run your game, the different rules, different locations. I love the names of these, the under, above, and beyond. So you've got Underworld, Yonder World, and Spirit World. And then expeditions, monster hunting, and then how to work with the setting and design your adventures. And then that full adventure here at the end. Even some advanced traps, magical traps. I mean, just so much stuff in this book. And this is just the DM book. They've also got their bestiary and player book as well. So it talks about running the session, all that stuff, describe the world. So even some tips on that. It says the Game Master is the window to the setting of Symbaroum, and the only way the players can see through this window is by your descriptions and any supporting materials. Says the only way that people can see is through you. For example, you can describe an ogre with words, but holding up one of these books or a zoomed in image from the PDF on your tablet can show the players what an ogre of Davakar looks like. So let's see here. It says you will want to have a good handle on the rules studying both this book and the player's guide and the relevant sections of the bestiary for the game situation at hand. However, no one should expect you to be an expert, and sometimes the rules purposely leave the answer vague because the only one who knows the exact situation in some circumstances is you. And that's so true. But there's just so much cool stuff in this book. I really think this is a must purchase. I mean, even if you just get a little bit out of it, it's going to be worth the purchase. But I really want to give you the flavor of the writing of these books because I think they're really well written. So let's read just a little bit of this part. It says it should have been the simplest of excursions, but the expedition to the ruins of Old Audubon ended in disaster. Already at dawn on the 4th day, we encountered a wounded rage troll, struck by more than a dozen elven arrows and eager for company on the road to the beyond. He made 2 of my friends tag along. Another 2 followed the day after, victimized by a fever caused by the rage troll's bites. And before we had traveled half the distance to our destination, 3 more were dead. Kairos was lured into a treacherous quagmire by fairies one night. Fabia's arm was severed by a blight-stricken elk, and she bled to death. And our goblin guide, Lurks, took his own life after having received the deadly gift of a poisonous trickle sting. So you can see it's very well written, lots of emotion and heart in there, and just so lovely in terms of layout. So although I'm not getting to show you much of the mechanics in here, I've heard good things about it, and I feel like there's a lot of opportunities here, especially since, as I said, they have the 2 other books as well. There's even a Game Master screen you can get. Um, it's a whole new world you can explore, and it's for 5th edition, 204 pages, $24.99. It's a good price for that, to get so many options and to really get to read some of that great writing that I just read and all the different things that are in here, including a full one-shot adventure. So check it out. It's in the links below under Ruins of Symborum, and give it a click. Next we have Sinister Swamps #1 from Brave New Worlds. It is a map pack for you, so that's system neutral, can be used for any fantasy setting or even modern. $5.99, and it is 24 swamp battle maps with and without grid for use in any VTT. Collection of desolate swamps inundated with fog and soaked with blood, both ancient and new. Trudge the murky waters if you are so inclined, but beware the land you will walk, lest you find yourself faced with those who walked before. So yeah, you can see kind of this murky, swampy area in this sample. And then you can see like sort of a nighttime variant with some more boggy little landscape features. And then you've got these sort of fence posts overhead and some creepy kind of plant that's growing in this boggy, swampy, marshy location. And it's great to get 24 different options. I mean, so many things need to happen in swamps. Something gets lost in the muck, somebody goes missing there, there's a ritual happening, this is where the enemy fled to. I mean, a million reasons to go to the swamps in D&D or other fantasy games, and having maps like this on hand to just quickly take your players there is really cool. And I love that these aren't really connected to anything, so you don't feel like, oh gosh, I'm reusing this map from this other adventure, and oh man, what if I want to run that adventure later with the same players? They're going to notice it's the same map. You don't have any of that with this, because these are disconnected. They're separate individual maps that are their own thing, and there's 24 different options, with all the variations on grid, no grid, etc. So check it out. It's under Sinister Swamps 1 in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Strange Ways, 6 classes and alternate magical systems for any OSR adventure game, from Death Trap Games and author Brian Rideout. And it's 84 pages. It works with Osric, OSR, Labyrinth Lord, Swords and Wizardry, whatever OSR system you're using. And it's really about bringing in these 6 new classes, but they each have unique subsystems for using powers that are not just repurposing the spellcasting system. So a lot of times, you have a role-playing game and it has a spellcasting system, and then you say, okay, here's a wizard and it's going to use the spellcasting system, but it's going to use slots. And okay, the warlock is also going to use the same spellcasting, but it's going to handle that differently using pack magic or whatever. And then it's just really the same stuff over and over, but different implementations. With this book, what I feel like they're trying to do is say, we're going to give you all these classes, but for each one we're going to tailor the system instead of having it just reuse the same stuff over and over. So it says wield poisons, explosives, and drugs as an alchemist, burn away your foes as the incinerator, manipulate the powers of the mind with the scion, bend reality itself to your imagination as a sorcerer, become twisted by the powers of the great old ones as one of the void warped, or make terrible pacts with alien spirits as a witch. So really cool options. And looking inside, see, here's the alchemist. It says, alchemists are masters of drugs, explosives, and medicine. Their selection of strange and useful concoctions lets them change the conditions on the battlefield in any number of ways, making them skilled tactical thinkers. And it goes through their basic stuff that they have and their tables. And then it says, an alchemist begins knowing 4 common alchemical formulae. If they have an intelligence of 14 or higher, they gain a bonus formula. If they have an intelligence of 16, they gain 2, etc. And they know the bomb formula, so they can make bombs. And then they can become good at gathering their ingredients, and they have all different kinds of things they can do at different levels, like establishing an academy of alchemy. And then it shows you how to make an alchemical item. So you have to have a lab, a formula, time, and reagents. So this, although there's magic involved, the alchemist is not just casting spells, right? They're making these various bombs and other alchemical concoctions that they're then going to use in battle. And so they have different concerns. They're not concerned with spell slots per se. They're looking for reagents and a lab. And, there's even a portable lab that they can have to make things. So, and that's just one version. This book has 6 different ways that they are going to bring those classes to you with these sort of subsystems. So like I said, there's a scion, sorcerer, and a void warped, and a witch. So all kinds of different ways of looking at it. Even if you just got this for inspiration on how to come up with your own subsystem, I think it's really good, because I just have not seen a title that's like, this is our goal. We're going to show you different ways you can implement the magic side of your class rather than just relying on repurposing the same system over and over. There is some benefit to repurposing the same system, the familiarity, but it also can get boring, right? So Strange Ways are here for you to try a different way. And even though it's OSR, I could see people getting inspired and doing stuff for 5th edition with this as well. And it's only $6. So why not check it out? I mean, if you think of it like $1 per class, I mean, that's a pretty good price. So check it out. It's under Strange Ways in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Tome of Adversaries from Terran Empire Publishing. And it is for 5th edition, 38 pages for $9. And it's got 30 new and intriguing monsters and beasts for your 5th edition games. And each monster listing includes stat blocks, background info, and interesting tidbits of lore. So you can see the different ones they have here, everything from the Ani to the Zulal. And just scrolling down here, here's the Ani. And got all their information. So, Guardians of Knowledge, Ani consider every book in their library as their personal possession. They have no problem lending items to those who seek information. However, any wanton destruction of books, scrolls, or other forms of knowledge within their eyesight, especially one of their books, will cause the Ani to go into a frenzy with the intent of punishing the offenders. Knowledge for all. Ani do not discriminate when doling out knowledge, be it an angel, demon, or wizard. From the prime, if the individual is courteous and follows the established rules of their library, they are free to browse, record, and borrow the library's books, even if the knowledge could be used for nefarious purposes. Ani will give it freely, but they might tack on some advice and warnings. So, Adlet, Agropelter. Yeah, so you've got all different kinds of creatures in here. It looks like the Agropelter has some junk piles. Agropelters rarely leave the trees and descend to the forest floor. When they choose to discard an item, they drop it without considering what it might hit or where it may lay. Travelers can notice they have entered Agropelter territory by the appearance of many such refuse piles. So yeah, some flavor for each of these. Yeah, lots of creatures in here to be had. Give you some adversaries. Increase your options. Sounds like junk piles, so you could have junkyards or junk pile connected things. You can have library connected things with the Ani. So they're giving you even some suggested settings, which is nice, where you might find some of these. So check it out under Tome of Adversaries in the links below and give it a click. Lastly, we're going to give you a sneak peek of what's going to be on discount through the Splinterverse social media channels next week. That's at Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and then, of course, by Friday here on YouTube, you will have the opportunity to get an exclusive discount not seen anywhere else. These last for about a week, and then they're gone. So you want to make sure you're following us. We release them at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time every Monday on those channels. So this one is Grunak's Guide to Elementals. So it's going to give you 20 new elementals, split between lesser, greater, CR3, 17, CR7. And you get 10 new elements, 20 new creatures, and it's just a lot of fun to have additional elementals because you could just never have enough, especially if you plan to go to any of the elemental planes. I mean, just getting some extra elemental stat blocks to have on hand would be great. And the regular price is $2, so we're going to give you a discount on that. So it's already cheap, but we're going to make it even more so. So make sure you're following us to grab that. And if you're following us, you're going to see that we also do Trinket Tuesdays, Wondrous Wednesdays, Thoughtful Thursdays, and of course Fresh Fridays. So you're going to get content Monday through Friday from us for free. So you want to make sure you are following, and of course subscribe here at YouTube, like the video, leave us a comment, share the video out there with friends, click all those links in the video description, purchase these books, support all these awesome creators that we've talked about this week, encourage them to keep creating, leave them comments, follow them on social media. You know, this can be a lonely business, and it takes a lot of nerve for people to continue to create these things, to make themselves vulnerable to criticism of their work. Because, you know, when you're an artist and you're creating work, it can be very vulnerable, because when somebody complains about it, it's like they're attacking you, because it's your baby, your creation, right? So encourage them, help them keep going, and support this wonderful community we have in the 𝘽𝙤𝙬 space. And I thank you all for watching, supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. I'm always excited to bring this new stuff to you every week. So stay tuned for more. And until next time, happy adventuring.